Rattler, end zone. Oh, yes! Yes! Yeah! Oh my god! Oh no! He dropped it! I still cannot believe that that is how the game ended. A Juwan Johnson drop, but yet it makes the most sense that the guy the Saints paid $30 million this offseason as their playmaking tight end is the guy who drops the game-tying, possibly game-winning touchdown. The Saints just fell to the Arizona Cardinals in their Week 1 matchup in a 20-13 game, which at times was very, very uninspiring, while at other times was actually pretty entertaining. Spencer Rattler got his first start, and head coach Kellen Moore called his first game as a head coach with a lot of interesting feedback. The main thing though is that he did not call any timeouts before halftime, and that may have costed his team an opportunity to win the game. I'm Cash, and you should take 5 seconds to like the video and subscribe, help support the channel. We're going to be breaking down the whole Week 1 game between the Saints and the Cardinals in today's video, trying to hit 15,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're at 14,000 now. Help support the channel. With all that being said, let's dive into this first game of the season. First things first, we got to start off by talking about how the game ended. So the Saints got in a 2-minute drill, got the ball back after a clutch Alontae Taylor sack. Spencer Rattler got the ball and led the Saints downfield, got him in position to get in the end zone, got in the red zone, and then we had this happen right here. So looking at the clock, there's 9 seconds left. 20-13, Saints are at the 18-yard line. They got to take a shot to the end zone, no timeouts left. Empty backfield, Rattler delivers. Juwan Johnson, it looks like he makes the catch. I was screaming my head off on the live stream. Appreciate all of you who were tuned in on there. And then he dropped it. Here's a better angle of the play. Spencer Rattler throws a perfect pass. I mean, he couldn't have placed this ball any better between 3 defenders. He puts it to where Juwan Johnson can go make a play, to where this defender right here can't bat it down. And these safeties, it doesn't look like batted it out. It just looks like Juwan Johnson just drops the football at the end. He did the hard part easy. He made the catch. The easy part was holding on to it, and he simply just couldn't. I cannot believe that this is how the game ended. I thought Rattler led a game-tying drive. I was ready for them to go for 2, and it simply just didn't happen. I cannot believe this is how the game ended. The Saints would end up losing the very next play as time ran out and it was 4th down. Post-game, Spencer Rattler was asked about it, and he said that he told Juwan Johnson he was going to him on that play and said he'd go to him again 100 out of 100 times in that situation. Or clearly not, because, well, the very next play, he did not go back to Juwan Johnson. Now, this is very clearly frustrating because Juwan Johnson paying him $30 million at the time seemed insane. He's not that good of a tight end. He's okay. And then, opening game, he comes up short of making what was arguably the best pass of the day from Spencer Rattler in one of the most critical situations. It seems like paying Juwan Johnson that much money was way too much of an investment. I could be overreacting from one game, but like, I wasn't a big fan of the extension then, and I'm definitely not a big fan of it now. My honest thoughts on Spencer Rattler's game, his first start as the Saints starting quarterback versus the Arizona Cardinals, was I thought he was decent. I don't think he was absolutely terrible and unwatchable, but I also don't think he was like great either. He was just kind of in that okay zone, like kind of that Andy Dalton 2022 tier. Serviceable, but not great, but not horrible either. On the day, Spencer Rattler was 27 of 46. 46 passing attempts is way too many for this team specifically. They should be running the ball more. That should be the identity. To ask Spencer Rattler to throw the ball 46 times and throw you into a win just seems like the way they should not be trying to game plan and manage the game. He had 214 passing yards, 4.7 yards average per attempt. He needs to start throwing the ball a little bit more downfield, and he took 1 sack. Rushing wise, 29 rushing yards on 4 carries. My biggest issue with Spencer Rattler's game was really him not forcing the ball downfield a little bit more. I get, trying to play it safe, take the quick passes, and I get that. But, at some point, you got to take some downfield shots, like 10 to 15 yards would be fine. It just felt like every pass was 2 yards, 5 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, nothing beyond that 10-yard area. And I'd like to see him do a little bit more of that. He looked good in the 2-minute drill doing that. He had a few nice passes to Olave and Shaheed early on in the game, going 10 to 15 yards downfield. And it feels like that's something that they should be trying to do a little bit more. 4 yards per attempt is insanely low, and that needs to be increased. You can't win games playing safe. Overall, I think Spencer Rattler did enough to make the Saints not lose, but also didn't do enough to make the Saints win, and that's kind of where he's at. And then, of course, people are going to be calling for Tyler Shough, but I don't think Rattler was horrible today in terms of he needs to be benched, but we do need to see him take some more downfield shots. I don't want to see him taking a 3-yard check down on 3rd and 13. I want to see him taking a chance downfield to try and get a first down and moving the chains. So yeah, that was my biggest issue with Spencer Rattler's game. I don't think he played horribly. I don't think he played great. 46 passing attempts is way too much. I thought he did a good job maneuvering in the pocket, but he needs to move the ball a little bit more downfield. That's my biggest critic of him on the day. Something worth mentioning, though, is that the reason why Spencer Rattler threw the ball 46 times today was likely due to the insane amount of penalties the Saints had in this Week 1 game versus the Cardinals. I mean, it was a ridiculous amount of penalties. Why don't we pull this up right here? The Saints had a total. Where's the penalties at? The Saints had 13 penalties for 89 yards. That's insane. They had 9 or 8 in the first half. This is a ridiculous amount of penalties, and this has to be cleaned up. A lot of them were pre-snap penalties like a false start, illegal motion, illegal formation. Stuff like that cannot happen, and that's stuff that needs to be coached up and fixed, and that's going to lead me into Kellen Moore. How did he do in his first game? Overall, I thought Kellen Moore was more good than bad, although my biggest critic of him, actually there's a few big critics of him, but the main one was not calling any timeouts before halftime. He could have gave his offense a chance with 1 minute left in the game to march downfield, maybe get a field goal, and he didn't, and it costed the team a lot of time. And he went into halftime with all 3 of his timeouts. Here's what he had to say.
We're just trying to save our timeouts as much as we could.
Kellen Moore said he was saving his timeouts. Saving them for what? You don't get to carry your timeouts into the second half. You don't get 6 timeouts in the second half if you keep the 3 in the first. Don't understand what he was saving them for. That seems like the situation to use them. Don't understand that logic. Post-game, Kellen Moore wouldn't really pin the decision to not take the timeouts on a lack of confidence in the quarterback Spencer Rattler. He said it's certainly something they talked about, taking the timeout, and they are really close to taking one, but they simply didn't, which doesn't make any sense. He could have taken a timeout with 1 minute left, gotten the ball back with, say, 50 seconds, get in field goal range, and they simply didn't. Costed them points, and those points might have costed them a win in the end of the game. The play calling from Kellen Moore, in my opinion, was pretty decent. There are some good things, obviously, and some bad things. To me, the worst play call that he had on the day was the bubble screen to Chris Olave. Let me pull this up. Look at the situation. It's 2nd and 10, 20-10, and look at where you're at on the field. Calling a bubble screen to Chris Olave, I don't think accomplishes anything on this play. And then it sets him up to take a big hit from Will Johnson right here. Will Johnson reads it perfectly, and he takes a big shot. Luckily, Chris Olave did return back into the game. He was evaluated for a chest injury, maybe like his ribs or something, but not a concussion. That was not the concern. So Chris Olave was fine. He ended up coming back into the game. But yeah, I was not a big fan of this play call at all. Like, this is setting him up to get hurt. This is not a big fan of this play call, given the down distance, the quarter, and the score. This is not a play he should have been calling. There's some other things I didn't really like about Kellen Moore's play calling on the day, but I also think he did some really interesting and creative stuff that I liked. I liked that he got Kamara in motion on one play, and then they handed it off to Kendra Miller, who got a really big run on that play. I liked getting both of those guys in the backfield. I like the fact that they ran the tush push. I like that they got it, but then again, the Saints committed a penalty and it was negated, so it didn't really count. But I like that they did the tush push and that it worked. I like the fact that they're getting creative. There was a play where they only had 3 offensive linemen. I was really curious to see what was about to happen. But then Cesar Ruiz, of course, commits a penalty. Maybe the worst offensive lineman on the team today. The thing I liked the most about his offense, though, was the tempo. Like, they get a 5-yard run, and then they go no huddle, and then they do an RPO, quick pass, that get like 8 yards in the first down. I like the tempo and the no huddle. I just think that they need to implement a little bit more like intermediate part of the field, not so much the short areas, but you know, that 10 to 20 yard range part of the field. So that was my honest thoughts on Kellen Moore and Spencer Rattler on the day. Some other things that we need to keep an eye on is Talise Fuaga, who got injured in the game and did not finish due to a knee injury. Alvin Kamara gave an update on Talise Fuaga. Alvin Kamara said he talked to Fuaga and he said his knee is good, so I'm assuming maybe it's a precautionary thing. Overall, I thought the offensive line played a pretty good game. Banks, I didn't really notice him at all, so he looked pretty good out there. Cesar Ruiz might be the weak link out there, and Dylan Radins, I thought it was okay. There's a few plays where the line got beat, but overall, I thought Rattler, more than not, had enough time to make a read and make a throw. So I thought the O-line did pretty well outside of like a few plays. In terms of the playmakers, Alvin Kamara is still that guy. That rushing touchdown was awesome. Would have liked to see them run the ball a little bit more in the second half. Obviously, playing down prevents you from running it, but like the run game was working in the first half. They went away from it in the second half. Kendre Miller looks really good out there. I get excited every time I see this guy play. Chris Olave was making some nice plays out there. Rashid Shaheed had some nice plays, although Shaheed did have a dropped pass from Spencer Rattler in the end zone, which could have been a touchdown. The throw also could have been better, but Shaheed, that's one he definitely should have had. These are the stats on the day for the Saints playmakers. Kamara, 45 rushing yards and a touchdown. Miller, 24 yards on 5 carries. He had a good game. Even Devin Neal got some action. Over 100 rushing yards. I thought the rushing game was good. Juwan Johnson, you know, you take away the drop, I thought he had an okay game, decent game, 8 catches for 76 yards, but it's hard to look at this and say he had a good game considering that he ended the game with a huge dropped pass. Olave was 7 catches for 54 yards. He was involved. Shaheed, not a lot of yards, decent amount of catches. Cooks got involved a little bit. So the playmakers were in there getting involved. Vele even got a catch. Nice to see him getting involved. I thought the playmakers overall were good. They just got to do a better job of getting them involved earlier and more often in a more creative way. Moving on to the defense, they started off strong. Cam Jordan had a sack. Kool-Aid McKinstry TFL, and the Cardinals went like 4 and out. They started off great on defense, and then it all went downhill. The Cardinals drank the Kool-Aid on the day, and it was not oh yeah for the Saints. They were bullying him all day long. Murray went downfield early on in this drive, and Kool-Aid McKinstry got beat from Marvin Harrison Jr. And then I think a few plays later, he let up a touchdown to Marvin Harrison Jr. in man coverage in the red zone. That was his man, and a touchdown. Moving on down here, run defense, let up a 52-yard run, missed tackles. This attempt from Kool-Aid McKinstry costed 15 yards and maybe points. They got a field goal on this drive, but if he makes that tackle, maybe they don't get a field goal there. So Kool-Aid McKinstry had a really rough game, did not have a great day, and I'm really concerned about it. Isaac Yiadom, the other cornerback, was getting beat up and bullied quite a bit. Did not like seeing him out there. I thought Alontae Taylor had a good game. Didn't really notice him too much. That's a good sign, but of course he had the game-ending sack. Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison were always open in critical downs and situations. Why were they open? Don't understand the defense. I was uninspired by them. They did come back. Cam Jordan finished the day with 2 sacks. He was by far the best player on the team today for the Saints. But overall, I mean, the tackling still felt like an issue. The secondary was getting beat. They did a good job containing Kyler for the most part in the pocket, running QB. I was expecting a better day from the defense. It was like an up and down. They definitely broke. They definitely bent. But they still only gave up 20 points. They started strong, finished strong, but in the middle, they did not look that good. And as for the special teams, Blake Grupe missed a kick that might have costed the team some points. The game goes a little bit differently if he makes that kick that he missed, and that's something he should be making. I don't understand why he missed it. The punter, Kai Kroger, I thought he had a really good day, pinning the Cardinals back deep a few times. Isaiah Stalbert had a few really good special teams tackles. Brian Brzee had a blocked field goal. So outside of Blake Grupe, I thought the special teams did their thing as well. Also, shout out to Kendre Miller for his kick returns. And that does it for today's video. Let me know down in the comments your biggest takeaways from the Saints' first game of the season. It could be anything. A Rattler start. Alvin Kamara looks good. It could even be that the uniforms look better than you thought they were going to be. I thought the uniforms looked pretty good. Let me know down in the comments. I appreciate it if you made it to the end of the video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Help support the channel. And I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.